Thanks for joining us for Season 3 of the Stories Unveiled podcast. Stories Unveiled exists to create a platform for people to share hope through personal stories about what Jesus has done in their life. Each episode highlights a different guest just like you and me, wading through this life that can get so messy. I hope this conversation proves helpful and encourages you to go live unveiled. I have Nate Johnson with me having an incredible conversation about something really scary that happened pretty recently. Nate was born in Fort Collins, Colorado, and was raised in Reno, Nevada, until the age of about 20 when he joined the Army. After serving 4 years, he returned to Nevada to attend college. In 2008, he married his wife, Amanda, and they have 3 beautiful girls. They currently reside in the Tampa Bay, Florida area, and in Nate's spare time, he enjoys fishing, paddleboarding, and doing leather work. Nate, thank you so much for joining me today.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. So first of all, I want to hear about this leather work. What do you make?
Right now I'm making belts. So I've made belts for my in-laws, some folks in the church, my wife. Yeah.
Do you make wallets?
Yeah. No, not yet. I haven't tried wallet
yet. Okay. We have a friend that does leather work and he makes belts too. It's awesome. It's so cool. Beautiful. Okay. So you grew up in Reno, Nevada. Good old Reno.
Good old Reno.
Good old Reno. I say that just because that's where you and I met. Was in Reno. Tell me about that. So you weren't born there. Like I said, you were born in Colorado, but you moved there when you were little, like 2, right?
Correct. Yes.
So what was living in Reno like? What was growing up in Reno like?
It was actually pretty great. I spent a lot of time in the mountains, riding bikes with my dad and my brother, and just kind of exploring the wilderness out there.
That's awesome. Yeah, the Sierras, right? The Sierra Mountains.
Yeah, the Sierra.
Okay. Yeah, there's some beautiful mountains out there. And then you joined the military. What prompted you to join the military? Like my son has he's had a dream to be a Navy SEAL since he was 6. And so who knows if that will happen, statistically speaking, probably won't. But had you always wanted to be in the military, or what prompted that?
Yeah, I'd always wanted to be in the military. I had been in ROTC in high school and just kind of enjoyed being around those guys that were retired or semi-retired.
Yeah.
And
so then you decided to...
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No, you're good. So you joined when you were 20?
Yeah, I joined when I was 20. It was September 6th, 2001.
Okay.
So 5 days before.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. That date sounds relatively familiar. So you enlisted or you joined right before 9/11?
That's correct, yes.
So what was that like? Like, how did that did it affect you joining the military at all?
It changed the cadence of what I thought it would be. So I joined and it was relative peacetime. And then we got to improv scene, and I saw the video of the plane hitting the tower.
Wow.
We got briefed by the drill sergeants, and then everything changed from there.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
So you and your wife, who has also been on the podcast, you and your wife, Amanda, and your girls, well, actually, you probably didn't have girls when you guys moved and left Reno, right?
No, we did.
You did. You had your girls. Okay. So then you guys moved and you left Reno, and where did you go?
So we went to Iowa.
Okay.
And Amanda was pregnant with Evangeline, our youngest. So she was born in Iowa City. And we moved out there to help open a prison that the federal government had bought from the state of Illinois.
Okay.
And so we lived on the Iowa side across Mississippi from the prison, which is on the Illinois side.
Okay. And then I reconnected with you guys when you guys were in Virginia, I believe, right?
Right. Yeah.
So you guys kind of jumped around, I'm assuming for work and whatnot. But now you guys are currently in Florida, right?
That's correct. We're in the Tampa area right now.
Tampa. How do you like it?
It's very hot.
Is it? I was going to ask, is it nice and warm? Do you have rain?
We have rain in the afternoons usually.
Yeah.
During the
Yeah.
summer, the winter's dry.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man, what I would give for some warm weather right now. Okay, so I'm kind of just getting us to what we're really going to talk about today, just kind of catching up and giving a little backstory on who Nate is. But something happened, and I actually have not even heard it from you. But I do know what happened. Something happened, and I don't even know. Was it last year? Was it late last year?
Yeah, it was September 6th, 2023.
2023. Okay, September of 2023. Tell me what happened. Just talk to me about what happened. Probably started out as a normal day.
Yeah, so I was on my way to work. I was commuting on my motorcycle. And it was about 8:30 in the morning. And I was crossing between, there was a stopped cars with a gap in between. And so I passed through there. And then the next thing I know, I woke up on the ground. And I was just trying to comprehend what was happening.
Yeah. Were you in pain?
No, not immediately. I was just checking to see if my fingers and toes were wiggling, and I can feel that. So I didn't see the actual crash. I just woke up on the ground. I saw a deputy kind of standing a couple feet away from me.
Okay. So you were out for a while then, because if all you remember is waking up on the ground from the time you got hit and a deputy was standing above you.
Yeah, well, he lived in the neighborhood, so he responded pretty quickly. And he was able to stop traffic because no one else did.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, the person who hit me stopped, obviously, but everyone on their way to work just drove by.
Wow. So you got hit, obviously, by a car.
It was a Ford Explorer.
Oh, so it was a SUV.
Yeah, and she was going about 40 miles an hour.
Oh my gosh. So tell me, so what happened? So you remember waking up, but what kind of, like what happened from there? Like the deputy was standing there and then what?
Yeah, so I was trying to talk to him and say, hey, I'm alive, I'm breathing. But I couldn't feel my left leg at all. I couldn't make it move, so I knew something was probably broken. So I basically laid there till the paramedics came by and they destabilized me, put me on a backboard gurney, and got me on the ambulance.
Wow. So they took you by ambulance to, I'm assuming, a nearby hospital.
Well, they actually care flighted me from a soccer field. And it was the only time that the lieutenants called for care flight when they actually responded and picked someone up.
Wow.
And I think she's been doing this for 20 years.
Wow. So they care flighted you to, where did you say they took you?
It's the main hospital in Tampa General Health. Yeah. So they have a trauma unit there.
More equipped to probably handle what had happened.
Right, yes.
So what was the extent of your injuries?
So I shattered my whole left leg. I broke my femur. Yes. It was almost a compound fracture up there. My tibia is a compound fracture. And I broke my fibia.
Yeah, your whole leg.
Right, yeah.
Like literally your whole leg. Oh my gosh. And was that it? Was it just your leg though?
Yeah, it was just my leg. I mean, I broke my wrist, but it was a
Okay.
minor fracture.
Okay.
I had some damage to my eardrum, but that was about it. No neck or back injuries.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was wearing this airbag vest,
Yeah.
and it put me in like a C-spine and stabilized my neck when I got hit. So that saved my life, I would say.
Okay. So this isn't like, I mean, like a PSA for anything like per se, but what were you wearing? like legitimately, what was the gear? What was that? Do you know?
Yeah, it was a Climb, KLIM,
Uh-huh.
and they make airbag vests that attach to your phone, so it doesn't have a tether like the old school ones do. So it senses motion aside from the normal motion you'd be going through on the motorcycle.
Like
Yeah,
impact.
motorcycle, yeah. Right.
And then the airbag deploys just like in a car, right?
Right, yeah.
And holds you together, causes you, right? Just like,
right.
Fine. Okay.
It
That's
locks your helmet in
incredible.
place. Yeah.
So your helmet stayed on because it locks everything.
Correct.
And your helmet stayed on. So you didn't have any head injury?
Oh, I had a concussion, yeah.
A concussion makes sense because your head probably was like rattling a little bit inside the helmet, I'm assuming, right? Was your helmet super damaged?
I didn't see it afterwards.
Oh, you didn't see it.
No.
So did you ever find out after what ended up happening? Like where you were thrown from your motorcycle? Like, did you ever find out what ended up happening in the accident? Like she hit you at 40 miles an hour, but.
Yeah, so she ran the center line with the no man's land to get to the turn lane.
Okay.
So she went almost on the other side of traffic to get up to the turn lane, even though the cars left the gap for me to turn out left from the neighborhood.
Okay. And just plowed right into you?
Yeah.
And do you know how, like, where you landed from where your bike was or from where you hit? Like,
I believe it was 60 feet.
oh my gosh, Nate, that's insane. So what did the doctors say about this? Like, should your injuries have been more extensive?
Yeah, so they gave me CT scans for my brain, and they put me in an MRI machine for my spine and neck just to see if it was broken. So I had a couple of those. Once they ruled out like any organ injuries or any spine or neck damage, I was able to get out of the neck brace.
What did your recovery look like? What was all of that? And might I say, because I'm assuming had you not had that vest, which was a miracle in and of itself to just have that, your injuries would have been, I mean, who knows, broken neck, back, like, did they even say what your injuries could have been if you didn't have that? Like that thing saved your life.
Right, yeah, I think they hinted at that because of the constant MRIs and stuff. So they were kind of confused why I didn't have any damage to my core.
Right. That was no small thing. So miraculous in and of itself. Maybe a commercial for the company, I'm not sure. But what did your recovery look like? Because even just a full, complete broken leg is like a big deal, especially, isn't the femur the hardest bone in the body to break? I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere.
Yeah, I believe it's the hardest one to break. And I guess that's the same pain one goes through in labor.
You're like, I wouldn't know. That's crazy. That's crazy. So what did your recovery look like?
Well, I was in the hospital for 7 days, I believe, until they could set me down to a inpatient rehabilitation clinic. And I was there for about 3 weeks, I would say.
Okay. And did you have to relearn how to walk, or like how, like from then to now, because it's been a good handful of months, what has that looked like in daily life?
Yeah, so I went from a wheelchair to crutches, and then I was able to go on one crutch, and then I was able to get on a cane finally, and now I'm walking without cane.
So you don't have any assistance now, currently
No, I
walking
don't.
without assistance. That's awesome. And how many pins do you have in your leg?
So I have 2 rods, one on my tibia and femur, and then I guess I have 4 pins or 4 screws.
Okay. So you have a bionic leg. Does it go off in like TSA?
Oh, no, it doesn't.
It does not. Well, I'm so glad you're alive, and I'm so glad that I know that your family is so glad that you're alive. So can you talk to me a little bit about, like, what were you thinking as far as like where God was in this? Like, where did you see God show up, and how did this affect, if at all, your faith or your walk, and your families?
Well, let's see. When I woke up from the accident, looking around, I realized that I probably wasn't going to die. And I really wasn't thinking about dying at that point. I was mainly concerned about letting Amanda know that I'm okay, as
Yeah.
I thought I was. So I just felt like I had God's presence there, just peace over me, and just knowing that I'd be okay.
Yeah. Did you, like, when you woke up, did you think you might be dead? I don't know. I see in movies, like, you wake up and you're like, am I alive? Am I dead?
No, I was just recovering from being knocked out, so I was just kind of trying to figure out why I was on the ground, where I was, and what was going on around me. Because I was really trying to get out of the street if I could, because I wasn't sure exactly where I landed. So,
Yeah. What are some ways, or I mean, what are some ways that maybe you've seen, or even your wife or kids have seen God show up just through the healing and like recovery journey? I'm assuming it's been probably not super smooth. I'm sure you've had to rely on other people to do things for you, and that's probably hard too. But like, where are some ways that people and God have just shown up for you in the whole healing and recovery process?
one thing God's always given me this sense of peace over the whole thing, that I was going to be okay, that I could hopefully use what I went through to help others going through traumatic injuries as well.
Yeah.
And God's really shown up through the church. Our church here has been really helpful for us. They've reached out to us, planned meals, just ensure that we're doing okay, asking if we're doing okay, just constant communication of seeing how the recovery is going.
Yeah. So the body of Christ has really shown up for you guys to really rally around you guys and help. And that's what the church is. So that's awesome. That's
Right.
so you guys are.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's not just like the praying, it's the actual actions of helping, like the things you can see, the things that people do for you. So I think that's important for other believers to know. While prayer is good, having an action, like a physical action of service, is very important as well. They go hand in hand.
Totally. Well, and that's how often when somebody shares something or says something, it's really easy to be like, oh, I'm praying for you. I'm praying for you. And then and I'll just even admit and be guilty. Like, sometimes I don't actually pray, you just like say, I'll pray for you. And then how often do we not really? Or because we're in the middle of something, so we'll pray later and then we forget, or we don't, or whatever. And so prayer is great and prayer is super powerful. But also it's kind of an and that the church also shows up not just in prayer, but in action and in deed, and is able to help bring resources or fulfill needs or whatever. That's also what the church is called to do. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Say that again.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
So I end every podcast with kind of a similar type question, and I'm just going to ask you the same thing. For our listeners who have faced some sort of huge, like traumatic accident, or they're facing a healing journey that is physical, especially, which I might even venture to say isn't just physical. I'm sure it was a little bit of a mental battle too in your healing process. But what encouragement would you have for them, somebody that's faced a similar situation?
I would say be patient with the healing process, because for me, my mind was all ready to go. I was already recovered mentally, but my body didn't catch up, and it's still catching up. So I had to kind of slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it gets frustrating because your mind's somewhere else and your body's still lagging behind in the healing process.
Yeah. So be patient with yourself. Give yourself grace in that.
Right. Yeah. Give yourself grace. It's a long process sometimes. We don't know what the timeline is. Even if the doctors have one laid out, it's not always what's going to happen.
Well, yeah, and it's a little bit like our stories. It's not always a point A to point B. There's probably some ups and downs and some setbacks, and a lot like life's journey.
Right, yeah. There's ups and downs. There's more operations maybe, but I think ultimately if you have faith in God that you're going to be healed, you can see that progress if you look for the good things that are happening.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Nate, for just sharing that, and thankful that you're on this side of it, healing, and not with a cane or any walking assistance. And so do you see any other operations in your future, or are you pretty good, like from here out?
Why do you check us about every 3 months? But right now, I don't see any operations in my future.
That's awesome. And so the big question is, are you getting a new motorcycle?
No way. The drivers in Florida have seen to that, and I agree with them.
Oh, Nate, thankful for you. Thankful for your family. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us for today's conversation on the Stories Unveiled podcast. We would love it if you would leave us a rating or a review. If you would like to learn more about Stories Unveiled and our events, go to storiesunveiledconference.com or follow us on Facebook or Instagram at storiesunveiled_. The Stories Unveiled podcast is created in partnership with KTSY and Barefoot Media Ministries. For more encouragement and other podcasts, visit ktsy.org. Have an incredible day and go live unveiled.